my name's Christine Dunford, and I'm going to read a story to you called Elizabeth, Queen of the Seas, and by Lynn Cox. And she actually, the author, Lynn Cox, actually used to be a roommate of mine in college, and now she's writing children's books, so it's pretty exciting. When this is a book about a home, and we all live in homes, apartments, houses, different types of homes. Well, animals have homes too. And this book is about Elizabeth, who is an elephant seal. And seals' homes are in the ocean. And an elephant seal is a bigger type of a seal. So let's see what happens to Elizabeth. There was once a lovely elephant seal who lived in the city. Most elephant seals live in the ocean, in salt water. They sleep on rocky coasts and they lie along sandy beaches. But this seal was different. She swam in the sweet, shallow waters of the Avon River, which flowed through the heart of the city of Christchurch, New Zealand, which is a country very, very far away. And so there's Elizabeth the seal. So instead of being in the ocean where most seals live, she's swimming in a little river that goes through this town. When the seal grew tired, she'd pull herself onto the shore with her front flippers and then haul her back flippers up behind her. Moving up the soft shore like a giant inchworm, she'd stretch herself on the long, cool grass and take a nap in the sunshine. So when she was tired of swimming in the water, she laid on the grass in their parks and in their neighborhood. And when she got hot, she'd take her flippers that were so big and throw big chunks of cold, wet sand onto her back. So she'd throw some of the dirt from the park onto her back to cool her off if it got too hot. She's a funny seal, huh? Look at how big she is in this picture. The seal's coat was silvery brown. She was 8 feet long as a long surfboard. That's pretty long. And she weighed 1,200 pounds, which is as much as 15 Labrador retrievers. So 15 big dogs is how much she weighed. The people of Christchurch knew there was something very special about her. She was strong and powerful and regal, like Elizabeth, Queen of England. And that must be why they called her Elizabeth, because she reminded them of a regal queen, Queen Elizabeth. There was one small boy named Michael who looked for the elephant seal every day on his way to school and again on his way home. Even on weekends, he walked beside the slow, swaying waters, hoping to spot Elizabeth's head bobbing up and down on the current on the riverbank. Though Michael knew never to get too close to her, after all, she was a wild animal, he liked to call out her name. So he would look for her on his way to school and his way home and yell, "Elizabeth, hello, Elizabeth, Queen of the Seas, are you there?" So he always wanted to check to see where she was and if she was okay. So I'd say probably Michael felt like he was a friend to Elizabeth. And if Elizabeth was near, she turned back and looked at Michael with her dark brown eyes. Her eyes were so clear that it almost looked, and her mouth was so large, it almost looked like she was saying hello to him. So he would call out her name looking for her, and it always looked like she was saying hello. Early one morning, when the grass was still wet, Elizabeth hauled herself up on the top of the riverbank, and she stretched out across a 2-lane road. Now, normally she lays on the grass or near the river, but now she's on a road where cars drive up and down. Maybe she liked the feel of the warm firmness under her belly, or maybe it was the sunshine fanning out across her back. But whatever it was, she decided to stay on the road. What do you think? Is that a good idea for Elizabeth to lay on a road that has cars? Suddenly, there was a screeching of brakes, and Elizabeth moved forward so quickly as a 1,200-pound animal with flippers for legs can. Bang! The car hit a rock and dented its fender, and Elizabeth threw herself across the road. So why did he put on his brakes? He put on his brakes so he wouldn't, what? Hit Elizabeth, right? But in the process, he hurt his car. Another screech, and a second car just missed running over her back flippers. Elizabeth, Queen of the Seas, slid down the riverbank and belly flopped into the water. Do you think Elizabeth was scared by a couple cars almost hitting her? Yeah. And do you think the people were scared because they almost hit her? Yes. So everybody got a little scared because now she was laying in the street. Elizabeth escapes death by a flipper's breath, said the Christchurch newspaper the next day. All over town, people were talking, and some were afraid Elizabeth would climb into the road again and get hit by a car. The people in town were afraid for Elizabeth. They did not want her to get hit by a car. So others worried that she would have a terrible accident, or somebody in a car might have a terrible accident. They decided that maybe it would be better for Elizabeth to live with other elephant seals. If she lived far away from the city, she wouldn't be a danger to anyone. So they were afraid to hurt Elizabeth, and they were afraid they might get into an accident and hurt themselves. So they said she needs to go back into the sea with other elephant seals. So look what they're doing here. You see the men with the boat? So one day, a group of volunteers in a small motorboat waited until Elizabeth was in the river. Then they approached her slowly and gently put a loop around her large body. So they didn't hurt her. They just put a loop around her belly. As they towed Elizabeth down the Erin River, a boy watched from the bridge. Remember her friend Michael? "Don't take my elephant seal away," Michael cried. "This is where she belongs." Do you think Michael's going to be sad now? I think so. But the boat went out, towing Elizabeth out towards the dark ocean. So here is a picture of the boat, and they have Elizabeth, the seal, elephant seal, behind them, and they're trying to bring her out into the deep, deep ocean. And remember, they're trying to bring her out because they're afraid she might get hit by a car. At last, the boat reached a sandy beach where other elephant seals lived. There they set her free. Before Elizabeth, hundreds of elephant seals lay squished together. Huge males that were 3 times the size of females were running and roaring and bellowing. Mother seals called to their babies with squeaks and squawks and whimpers, and babies squealed back. So they found a place off the ocean where other elephant seals lived. So do you think that's a good idea for Elizabeth to live with other elephant seals? Because now she has animals just like her to live with. Maybe it was because the beach was too crowded and noisy. Maybe she missed the town of Christchurch. Or maybe there was some other reason that we'll never know. But Elizabeth decided not to stay. Instead, the Queen of the Seas turned around and made herself as streamlined as possible, tucking her front flippers close to her sides so she could move swiftly through the water. Back across the cold, open ocean she swam. So here she is, making herself really streamlined to swim. She's leaving the little jetty or island with all the other elephant seals. And where do you think Elizabeth is going? We probably know, right? And into the sweet, warm Avon River. Still on she swam past the wispy willow trees that line the shore until she reached her favorite sunbathing spot by the bridge. There she hauled herself onto the riverbank and lay across the warm road. So she's back in the town of Christchurch, right? Because she likes the river that runs through there, and maybe she likes the people. But what did she do? She didn't stay along the river. She put herself on the road again, which is a dangerous spot. "Elizabeth, you're home," Michael shouted. So Michael is her friend, and it sounds like he's really glad to see her. And Elizabeth lifted her big head, looked at him with her dark brown eyes, and snorted once and then snorted again. So that might be a way of Elizabeth saying hi to Michael. I think they're probably pretty good friends. So next, each day Michael looked for his friend on the way to school on his way home, and each day there was no one there to greet him. But then one day, miraculously, Elizabeth was back, looking up at Michael and snorting before her great body on the road. So they had tried to bring her out to sea with other elephant seals. She didn't want to stay. She came back, and Michael was very happy once again to see his friend. When Elizabeth was taken away the next time by the people, they thought they would never see her again. The boat towed Elizabeth hundreds of miles, this time much further away from Christchurch, before letting her go. And as the seal pulled herself out of the ocean water onto some large rocks along the shore, the boat turned and headed back to Christchurch. So there's the boat, okay, and they let Elizabeth go on a rocky area off the ocean. This time they went much further away so that she would have a harder time getting back. Does it seem mean that they took her away? Because Michael's not happy about it, right? And we're not sure how Elizabeth feels because she's already come back once before. A month passed, that's a long time, and Michael and his friends rode their bikes and they swam in the river, they explored, built forts, they read books, but all the time they played, they always looked for Elizabeth, and for a month they didn't see her. A second month passed, and then almost a third. So Elizabeth was gone for almost 3 months this time. That's a long time. And why do you think it was so long? It might have been because the fishermen, the people from the town, took her very, very far away in the ocean. Michael watched the water, and he wished upon the stars. And we know what he's wishing for, right? He's wishing to see his friend again. He misses Elizabeth, even though she's been gone a very long time. Oh, and then one warm summer morning, Elizabeth was back. Look, she's smiling. It took a long time, but she made it back to town. And who's really happy to see her? There in the water beneath the bridge was a beautiful elephant seal who weighed as much as 15 Labrador retrievers. "Welcome home, Elizabeth," Michael shouted. Elizabeth looked at him with her dark brown eyes, snorted once, and then snorted again. So they always have their own way of saying hello to each other. Michael ran to tell his friends, who told their families, who all came down to the spot on the bridge. Looking out over the sun-speckled water, they cried, "Welcome home, Elizabeth, Queen of the Seas." See how all the people are along the bridge? And they're saying, "Welcome home." So do you think other people in town missed her too? Not just Michael, right? They all missed Elizabeth because they've all grown very fond of her. They all like her very much. So the people of Christchurch loved Elizabeth, and so they decided to put up a sign on the road where she liked to sleep. It was a bright yellow sign with black letters that said, "Slow Elephant Seal Crossing." So you know how we have stop signs on the road to tell people when to stop or slow down? Well, they put a special sign up saying, "Slow down, Elephant Seal Crossing." So this way they could warn the people that are driving on the road to be very careful and go very slow, because Elizabeth might be crossing or taking a nap. To this day, the townspeople wonder how Elizabeth managed to travel so far. They don't understand how she came from miles and miles and miles way out in the deep blue ocean and found her way back to their town. They know she must have swum through huge waves and strong currents. She must have gotten very tired, but she kept on swimming. She must even have swum while she slept, night after night, day after day. So Elizabeth was very tired, but she wouldn't give up. She kept swimming until she got home. That must have told you how much Elizabeth wanted to get back to town. And they like to imagine that at last, when she reached the mouth of the Avon River, which is in their town, that she swam upon a stream of moonlight until she reached the store. the shore. So there's the moonlight, which helped guide Elizabeth back to the river that she loved and the town that she loved. So even though elephant seals live in the ocean, and usually with other elephant seals, Elizabeth was different, right? She had a home, but where was her home? Her home was on the Avon River in a little town in New Zealand where there was a boy named Michael who was her friend, as well as the other people there. There was once a lovely elephant seal who lived in the city, and that is exactly where she belonged. So she decided that her home would be in this little city of Christchurch in New Zealand. So that's where this elephant seal decided to have a home.